Soft rain tapped against the windows as the auditorium filled with chatter and laughter. It was music night, the biggest event of the year. Behind the curtain stood a thin boy in faded sneakers, clutching a worn-out guitar whose strings had been changed too many times to count. His name was Eli, the janitor's son, a quiet soul most students never noticed. When a performer suddenly fell sick, the teacher looked around nervously and whispered, "Eli, you play, don't you?" He froze. "A little," he murmured. "Then go," she urged. "We need you." Eli stepped into the blinding light. Whispers rippled through the audience. "What's he doing up there?" someone whispered, but he closed his eyes and began strumming the opening notes of Hotel California. The melody started uncertain, trembling like his hands. But slowly something shifted. Every string carried a story, of nights helping his father clean classrooms, of silence filled with secret dreams. The song grew deeper, until the entire hall forgot to breathe. When the final note hung in the air, Eli lowered his head, expecting laughter, but there was none. No applause. No sound, just hundreds of eyes glistening. Because for the first time that night, music wasn't entertainment, it was truth. For a few eternal seconds, silence ruled the hall. Eli felt his heartbeat echo through the microphone. Had he done something wrong? He turned, ready to leave, when one hand began to clap. A single, brave sound from the back row, then another joined, then another. Within moments, the whole auditorium stood, teachers, students, parents. A wave of applause crashing over him. Eli blinked in disbelief, tears threatening to spill. The principal came forward, voice trembling. "Son, that was extraordinary. Where did you learn to play like that?" Eli smiled shyly. "My dad used to sing while mopping the floors. I guess I just listened." Laughter mixed with sniffles. Even the bullies who once mocked his shoes patted his back now. But one pair of eyes was missing. His father's. Eli searched every hallway until he found him near the janitor's closet, watching a replay on the small security monitor. His father stood there, hand over his mouth, eyes glistening. "You didn't just play tonight, son," he whispered. "You reminded them we exist." Eli hugged him tightly. "You taught me everything." His father's voice quivered. "Promise me." "Eli, never hide who you are again." Eli nodded, unaware that this would be the last promise he'd ever make to him. A week later, the chair in the hospital waiting room sat empty. Eli stared at it, unable to breathe. His father had collapsed that night in a silent heart attack. The doctor said the man who had spent his life cleaning others' messes had quietly left the world without making one. Beside him lay his father's mop, shoes and name tag, the tools of a humble legacy. Eli picked up the tag and held it close, whispering, "I did it, Dad. You saw me." Days blurred together. He stopped going to school. The guitar gathered dust. One afternoon, his music teacher knocked and left a letter beside the door. "Your father didn't raise a janitor's boy," it read. "He raised a musician." Inside the envelope was a flyer, charity concert, honoring the unsung heroes of our school. Eli hesitated. His heart felt too heavy for music. But when he passed the janitor's closet one morning, the door stood slightly open. The broom still leaned against the wall, the same way his father left it. Eli closed his eyes and whispered, "Okay, Dad, just one more time." He picked up his guitar, tuned it slowly, and walked toward the stage again. This time, he wasn't just performing, he was remembering. The lights dimmed. The crowd quieted. Eli walked onto the same stage that once terrified him. But tonight, he carried more than a guitar. He carried a promise. The first note of Hotel California rang out, not as a song, but as a prayer. Each chord spoke of sacrifice, dignity and love too often unseen. Behind him, the projection screen lit up. Photographs of the janitorial staff, cafeteria cooks, bus drivers, guards. Faces that worked in silence, serving with kindness. The audience gasped, some covering their mouths. As the melody deepened, Eli's voice cracked. "This one's for my dad, and for everyone who works when no one's watching." Tears streamed down faces in every row. Teachers hugged, students wept. When the final note faded, the principal stepped forward holding a folded paper. "Eli," he said softly, "we found this in your father's locker. It was a crumpled note, the ink faded but clear. Someday, the world will hear my boy sing. When they do, tell him I'm proud. Eli clutched it to his chest. For the first time since his father's passing, he felt something lift. A quiet applause that didn't need sound. The music had reached heaven, and heaven had answered. Years later, a grown man walked onto a grand concert stage. Thousands of lights shimmered like stars. The world now knew his name, Eli Ray, the man whose Hotel California cover became a symbol of humility and hope. But before every show, he followed one small ritual. He placed his father's old name tag beside the amplifier, a reminder that greatness doesn't begin on a stage. It begins in service. That night, as the crowd cheered, Eli smiled softly and said into the mic, "This one's for the man who mopped the floors but polished my soul." The first notes echoed through the hall. People sang along. But Eli played with closed eyes, hearing only one heartbeat, one presence, one voice. Somewhere beyond the noise, he could almost hear his father whisper, "Told you they'd hear you, son."